What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to Confidence Factor Talks for Men. My name is Lamont Gwynn, and I am in the building. Now, let me do that again. What's up, people? My name is Lamont Gwynn. Confidence Factor Talks for Men, and I am in the building, as my brother Rudy LaRose would say. Welcome to Confidence Factor Talks. Every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m., we get together and we have what we call heart-level conversations that lead to transformation. And we know that Father's Day is coming up. And so what we're going to do is have a conversation this evening. And the conversation is Lessons from Fatherhood 2023 edition. Last year, we talked about the lessons from our fathers. We're going to spread it out a little bit. We're going to expand on it a little bit and talk about fatherhood in general. And really talk about what we've been through. I'm not a father, but I've had a father, and I can talk from that perspective. I want to be a father. I can talk from that perspective. So before we get started, what I want you to do is, if you have not given StreamYard access, so when you comment, we can see it, go ahead and add StreamYard by going to www.streamyard.com/Facebook. And that way we can see when you comment. Also, if you're watching us live, please type in, if it's something we say resonates with you, type in hashtag heart level. And if you're watching us on replay, hashtag replay. All right, we're going to get this started. I don't know who I'm going to bring up first. I'm going to bring up my compadre, my brother, the one who, man, we be talking every single day. Bro, we having some deep conversations. My brother all the way up in Jacksonville, Florida. It is none other than Bobby B. And I'm going to say Bobby B Inspires. Welcome to the show.
What's up, good people? Man, today is a great day, and it is the best day of my life. I can't do nothing but yesterday, and tomorrow is not promised. I got to do all I can today. And I think it was what your boy said. He said, all you could do is all you could do, but make sure that's all you can do.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely. I'm good. I'm glad to be here, man. I think we have a great conversation tonight, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for being here. And then we have the brother just right down the road from me. My brother from another mother, Darian Hill. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. I'm in the building. As always, here with the Confidence Factor crew. How's it going, champions? You know, it is the game. It is the fourth quarter. It is whatever quarter you're in, but we still playing this game called life. So let's go. We're talking about fatherhood today, and I'm looking forward to setting the framework on this for the stage and for the show. So bring on our rest of the brothers, man.
Excellent. And then we have none other than Rudy LaRose himself. He's kinda in the building tonight. He's here. He's kinda in the building. Welcome to the show, Rudy.
Yeah, boy. What's going on, fellas? We're talking about Father's Day today. I'm so excited to have this conversation. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be spectacular. It's going to be booyah, baby. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Well, hold up. You got Mike Tyson with you? Wait a minute. You fixing? Let me find out you fixing Mike Tyson's computer.
First of all, don't call me Mike. My name is Mikey, okay? First of all. Second of all, I'll bite your ear off. You keep talking to me like that.
Whoa. Okay.
What's going on, fellas? What's going on? It is me in the building, indeed.
Yeah, with Mikey.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks,
so,
sir.
brother Darian.
Yeah.
Come on, brother. You gonna set the framework for us?
Man, and that's what I love to do. I am Mr. Framework. So listen, I just want to the show. Thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate that you guys giving us, or you ladies giving us, the most valuable asset, which is your time. And we want to talk about something that is important, fatherhood, right? And when we talk about fatherhood, I want you guys to do me a favor. If you're listening on the replay, you're listening on live with us today, I really want you guys to take the time to think about fatherhood and what it means to society, fathers, what they mean to society, what it means to your life. Even if you've had maybe an absent father, right? Just look at it from the totality, the importance of men, the importance of fathers in the life, right? And so we're going to discuss that today and talk about what are some of the lessons we've learned from our fathers, and some of the good lessons, and maybe some of the lessons that were not so good. But here in Confidence Factor, we have heart level conversations that lead to transformation. And it's always about transformation by having those conversations that oftentimes we're afraid to have. This community was put together, of course, to impact the lives of over 5 million men. And that is a big, audacious goal. But we do that first by working on ourselves. We do that first by this core group of men really working on things that's meaningful, the things that's transformational, the things that, stop us from expanding. And so we're here to have these conversations. And so we have this thing called a SMART principle. Number one, self-mastery. You got to work on the foundation of self. And of course, two, you got to have accountability. And last but not least is the resources and tools, right? Having those things to help you to build upon the foundation that you set. So listen, this is a great opportunity to be in celebration of fathers, be in celebration of men who get the opportunity to be able to raise the next generation, to be able to be there to cover, to protect, to provide lessons, to coach, to mentor, the younger generation, right? Their legacy, their seed. And so we want to honor them today as we go into Father's Day on Sunday, and continue to honor fathers throughout the rest of the year. So, fellas, I want to really, first of all, just kind of open up the discussion. First, to just kind of ask the question, right? When you think of your father, whether you've had great experiences or not so great experiences, what is the one thing that you would say, hey, I celebrate that person for? What do you celebrate them for? We always talk about having quick wins or having small wins or looking at our wins. But what would be the one thing that you would say, you know what? If this one thing I learned, this is the one thing that I celebrate that person for. What would that be? And I want to kind of go around and ask the question, right? And we have a Facebook guest that says, I can't see your name, but I want to shout you out. Shout out to my father, Albert Herbert Moody. That's good. Mr. Moody's in the building. He calls it Mr. Superman, watching over me daily, taught me to love, responsibility, commitment. Most important, the man I have ever met in my life, right? Most important man I've ever met in my life. Okay, got it. Just want to make sure I really read that properly because I was stumbling with my words there for a minute. All right, so let's go around the room, and I think we could start off there. Like, what's that one thing that you would say, man, that's a big celebration? So, Mikey, you in the building? Yeah, Mikey ain't in the building, so we gonna.
I'm in the building. There. I was like, "Who's Mike?" I was just like, I'm looking around, like, we got a mic in there. Yeah, we had a guest on the show. I didn't even know that. Man, listen, I'm gonna be honest on this one. I'm gonna be honest. So, what I as a man watching other fathers in action, specifically you, Darian, because you have taught me a lot through just the way that you interact with your boys. I remember one specific specific moment where you said, "Hey, I gotta run, guys. I have to go into a meeting with my guys." And I'm thinking, maybe something happened, whatever. And what you were doing, you were actually training them that day. Literally putting a whiteboard on and training it. Like, who does that? Darren Hill. But what comes to mind when it comes to even my father is, I can say honestly that my man was consistent. He was consistently not present at all. And I know that sounds harsh or maybe weird even to say that, but here's what that does for me. And this is only from my perspective, obviously, from what I've dealt with, from that perspective. I would have rather someone who I know I can count on not being there and making that decision, and the fact that he made the decision, I can honor that. I said, you know what, you made your decision, that's you. As opposed to him having say, I'm gonna show up and not showing up, or I'm gonna do this and not doing it, or going back and forth. I think being able to know that I can count on him
making that decision and sticking to it, I'm good with that. Does it hurt? Does it, is there times in my life where I wish I could have that conversation? Absolutely. Um, to the point where I've even reached out. But to know that he was able to make a decision, good, bad, or indifferent, and stand on that decision, I can honestly honor that. Say, okay, that's cool. It is what it is, and be able to move forward in my life. So that's what I have, man. And again, I know it's kind of weird to even to mention it that way, and being thankful for something like that. But man, I can understand what it's like for kids growing up with fathers who say they're going to be there, or they're going to show up, or they're going to pick them up, and not do that. And I know, as I spend time with even my nieces and nephews out there, or cousins or whatever, when you say you're going to come, like, they're looking forward to that. They're looking forward to be able to spend that time. And so being able to see that in action has taught me a lot. That's my share.
Cool. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. I'm glad that you're able to, in the depth of all of that, and clearly you can sense that, there is a wanting and a desire for that relationship, but digging deep to find out what is it that you can still celebrate. So, kudos to you, my man. I know that it's not always easy, and you represent a number of people in the world who deal with that particular situation, right? And at the same time, here in Confidence Factor, we believe that life is always working for you, that no matter what circumstance you come out of, you can always find a way to turn that circumstance or turn that lemon into lemonade, and use it to serve someone or to serve yourself. And sometimes it's being able to look at that situation and say, hey, what can I pull from that? What positive can I pull from everything that everyone would deem to be negative circumstance? So kudos to you, my brother.
Well, I take that from Steve Jobs. You turn apples into iPhones all day. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is, brother.
There you go. Apples into iPhones. I feel you, brother. All right. So we're going to keep this thing rocking. So let's go ahead and go to Bobby and have him share, right? Just in one celebration before we get into the lessons and all that. Like, what's your celebration, man? What is one thing? What's your celebration?
Yeah, I celebrate my father. My father, man, my father's taught me the power of persistence. My father's taught me the power of persistence. And what's so dope? What's so dope about it is my father taught me indirectly. Indirectly, I used to for years while I was married to my wife, I used to listen to my father. He used to tell me the same stories over and over again. And I used to say, man, what's wrong with this guy, bro? Like, to my wife, I say, man, every time I talk to this dude tell me the same exact story. It's like I can almost predict how the conversation is gonna go. And I say, man, the guy tell me the same thing. But I think Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it wasn't until I looked up later, and this is 2023. I'll be married 23 years to my wife, been together 25 years. My mom used to sometimes communicate some things with my dad, like when I was growing up, about how much help he would give. And that had kind of skewed my view. So anything I received, I don't know, I shared this before, but I think the power of it is worth repeating. That it kind of altered a little bit how I thought. My thinking wasn't pure. My thinking wasn't natural. It was slightly skewed because not knowing how to rightly divide those words, the opinion, the emotion of what may or may not have gone right or wrong with them. When my father used to do things, I used to feel like, well, man, this guy's supposed to do this, right? He's supposed to do it. So there was a lack of gratefulness on my end. And so it wasn't until later when I'm married, I'll be 23 years married this year, sometime into my marriage, I'm like, man, I got some stickability here in my marriage. And that was because my father know how to set his mind to his marriage and just keep going, and there was a lot of, persistence in him maintaining that. But in the process of that, me looking at his marriage, I say, well, man, he actually acted as a role model without too many words. Just me seeing it and witness it tell me that it's possible to be done. whereas a lot of friends that I had growing up, single mothers and fathers not being present, they had a different view of things, right? And so they didn't necessarily have any, I guess, like a goal to see two people in love, for a long period of time, and it keep working and working every year after year after year. I had even though I wasn't there all the time, he wasn't there with me, I had access to witness that. And then he backed it up in his speech he used to consistently remind me of things that he did. And when I sat down and actually thought about it, he did some mega things. I remember I wanted a Land Cruiser. When I think about now the principles I used as a young man, I was unconsciously, like consciously unconscious. Like I didn't know what was going on, but I was able to produce a Land Cruiser. I used to drive behind Land Cruisers and say, I'm gonna have me one. And I would drive behind it and just look at it and imagine myself driving down the street. Instead of in my car, I'm in that car, right? And I would drive the wrong direction. Like if I see a Land Cruiser, I turn around and I follow it, and I'd be like locking my eyes on it. I'm like, I'm gonna get me one. But I didn't have the wherewithal, man. I didn't have the credit. I didn't have the money. I was making some money doing, music videos and, movies as an extra and things like that. And my father helped me get the car. My father helped me get my car, and it was a Land Cruiser. It was my dream car. During that time, especially like in New York, everybody wanted a Land Cruiser, and I managed to get one from my father. But I didn't tap into the gratefulness and the magnitude of what he had done. And so from time to time, my father said, yeah, remember I got you, I helped you get that Land Cruiser and all that. And I said, why does this guy keep bringing up this thing happened years ago, right? And so when you think about it now, right, think about it from mentally, let's create a bridge. The skewed vision I had of him and what he did or did not do didn't catch up with the things he did do. So he had to create a bridge for me to connect me to understand that, bro, hey, I didn't do everything. I wasn't there 24/7, but my dude, I did something, right? Like, give me some credit. And there's nothing worse for a man, his father, than to do, everybody counts you out and say you can't be done. You show up and you do some things. And not only you do some things, you do some major things. Like you help your kid get his first vehicle, which is like his dream car. That is mega. That's huge. And so I never understood why he kept repeating himself. He would never say you're ungrateful. He would never say you're not appreciating me. He would never say any of those things. He'd just repeat the story like it was the first time I repeat the story, and he'd just leave it alone. When I got into my fatherhood, I started seeing some things. I was like, well, damn, man, hey, man, you can say thank you. What the hell? Like, bro, so the universe is like, gotcha. Right? Gotcha. Now you know how it feels, my dude. Right? So the light bulb went off. So now I went back and I'm like, hey, wanted to tell you, I appreciate you. I want to appreciate what you did over there. I went back and just started celebrating and appreciating the things that I remembered and the active things that he did. When that happened, the stories changed. He stopped telling me the same stories, and then we had a deeper connection. But it wasn't until I changed the way I looked at the situation that the situation changed. So we go back to Wayne Dyer says, when you change the way you look at things, the situation changed. I kept expecting him to change and not looking at what role did I play in this whole thing. So he was able to change my paradigm, help me to assist me to change my paradigm by being persistent, the power of persistence, telling the same story, holding his frequency, keeping his vibration, never moving from that position until I came into alignment with the truth. And the truth is he was there. The truth is he did do some great things. And the truth is I did not appreciate it as much as I probably should. But when I changed, the situation changed. That made the relationship grow deeper. Now I could tell you to this day, we just talked on the phone. I was sitting in my car the other day. It was pouring rain, and we're discussing big business deals. He used to do real estate also. We're discussing the market and what we know is coming up in the fourth quarter. And it was so cool to have somebody who's been around longer than you, that's close to you, that doesn't have any ill will, is not going to give you crazy information, to be able to bounce off those ideas with him. And he even took me further back before I knew about the real estate game, and really began to help me to tap in to see the cycles and how it worked. And repetitive, right? So that power of persistence is what my father taught me the most. So I developed that in my subconscious mind and was able to exercise that first in my marriage, and then also in learning how to hold, maintain, and keep an idea until the reality changes into what I want it to be. It's a very powerful lesson. And kudos to Wayne Dyer too, man, for really having the courage before he transitioned out of this time space to say, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Powerful lesson for me.
Yeah, that's real powerful. And I want to really kind of just really sit in what you shared relative to the whole celebration and the gratitude and appreciation, because when we think about fathers and we think about Father's Day, there's somewhat of a dismissive attitude around it, right? I get the sense that people in society kind of like, okay, let's just get the socks, get the tie, get the whatever. There's a sense of dismissive, and it's true. And I think you brought up something that's very important. Oftentimes we're in the conversation about fathers not being there. We're in the conversation about fathers doing this and that deadbeats and all. We're in that conversation, but even in all of that, there is still that you can think that the things that they have done as to your father, things that he may have did. Like he said, hey, I may not have been able to do all this stuff, right? But this is the one thing that he wants to be appreciated for. That's the one thing that he wants to be celebrated. And sometimes we miss that point. We miss that point to celebrate them. And men who walk around feeling a sense of being unappreciated in many regards, because there seems to be in society, and that could be, as Bobby would say, it could be a mile off, right? But for me, there's a sense of just like, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal to say, hey, man, you did a fantastic work, or whatever the case is, or did a great job here, or thanks for this, that, or whatever, or not acknowledgement, like even the work that he had to go through to be able to provide that thing, even however small or however big, right? And so I really wanted to just kind of thank you for sharing that piece, because I think to me, it really is this discussion. To me, it's at least I'm taking it on a stand to say, hey, that yes, men in society should be honored and appreciated. And there should be a lot more focus on what we bring to the table and our contributions versus some of just looking at what is wrong, right? So I love that you've recognized that. And I love that you brought up the point about Wayne Dyer, that when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. When we change, hey, how we are approaching the situation, things change. So beautiful share, my brother. Beautiful share. I love it.
Darian,
Yeah.
it also begs to ask the question, where's masculinity heading to, in this particular society? Because a lot of it's not just fathers, it's men in general that, the men the men that are wanting to stand and be fathers and be there for, for their families, I believe feel like they're under attack. And I think a lot of it can be misconstrued as, you guys are trying to get power again and this, that, and the other. And though there was a period in society where, um, men were mainly in charge, and of course women were, homemakers and things like that, and that dynamic has changed a lot. But I think it also begged to ask, well, where are we left as men to be able to pour into our children and be there, as Bobby said. That's what came up for me when I started thinking about that.
That's cool. It's cool. It's cool. And that's a dynamic that we can certainly go down, and have a big discussion around, and somewhat of discussion that I think we do need to have. And right now, I think we keep it within the aspects of the fatherhood, and those contributions. But great point, and I think that is a discussion that we definitely should have, for sure. So as we're moving on, we have another gentleman who will be sharing, and we're just kind of talking about celebrating right now, like celebrating, like what is the one big win, maybe one takeaway that you can celebrate right now for your dad or your father. in your life. So I'm gonna ask Lamont to share his thoughts around that. Talk to us, Lamont. We lost you there for a minute.
There I go. There we
There
go.
you go.
So I was not the most masculine boy.
Mm.
And I think my father realized that.
Mm-hmm.
But he never said anything about it. I remember one day we were working on the car. He had told me to help him come out and make the change the brakes. And I would get my hands dirty and run into the house and wash my hands. Get my hands dirty a little bit more, run into the house, wash my hands. Get my hands dirty a little bit more, go in and wash my hands. And my dad stopped me and he said, "Son, it's okay to get your hands a little dirty."
Mm.
The funny thing is, I forgot that. And I can't remember the day that I remembered it, but I do know that I was like in the trenches working really hard. And I'm like, where is this coming from? And I remember my dad telling me it's okay to get your hands a little dirty. And I think when I look at my dad, I see a lot of holes. But I can celebrate the fact that he taught me that. And at the end of the day, I think my dad did the best he could with what he had. If he had more, he would have given more. If he had more knowledge, he would have given more knowledge. If he had more support, he probably, I know for sure he'd be a better man.
Mm.
And it's if I'm going to be very open, it's very difficult for men who are married to women who operate in masculine energy 98% of the time. And as a child, you don't know the difference. You don't think, as a child, you're not sitting there saying, "Oh, she's masculine energy." You don't know that. You just see a bossy mother. You don't understand the dynamic of what's going on. But I think, and I think he takes some of that is him, but I think that my parents' dynamic was so interesting. I can see, had he'd been able to had the knowledge to maneuver and to operate in that situation, in that marriage, understanding the difference between masculine and feminine energy and what was going on, if he'd been able to hone in on that and to tweak it and to help their marriage, I think it would have been dynamic. It would have been a great marriage. So, I celebrate my dad because I know that he did the best, the very best that he could. And I know he really tried, he really did his best to make a connection with me. Like, we would go on the truck together. I remember one night he had this ice cream run. I may have said this story before in the show, but one night I was sleeping in the truck and he said, "Get out the truck." He woke me up, said, "Get out, get out." And we're up on this tall mountain and it's pitch black out. And he said, "Look up into the sky." And the stars were so big. It was incredible. Like, I still look at the stars at a 50-year-old man because of him. That experience will never go away. And it gives me an appreciation. Every time at night, I'm always looking up at the stars. I can't help it. It's something that was a pivotal moment in my life that I remember. So I just know that he did the best that he could. And he taught me the valuable lesson of getting my hands dirty when I need it, when I need to.
Getting
That's
your
my
hands,
share.
I love that. Getting your hands dirty when you need it. And what I love about what you shared, man, so much good rich stuff from all you guys. Um, and as we talk about really celebrating and honoring men and fatherhood, particularly, a lot of people could take a page from your book, Lamont, in a sense that, saying that could serve as a huge healing for them. Because so, like you said, there were so many things, the holes, and you can always look at all the holes, but look at those beautiful two moments you shared, the star moment, right? Um, the grease moment in your hands. You can always find them if you look for them.
Right.
And I think a lot of times we are looking so much for the holes that we're missing out on seeing those opportunities or those things that we enjoy today because our fathers contributed to those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying to a lot of the audience too is like with Lamont share, is some of us can heal in our relationship with our parents and or whatever just by simply going from a space of hurt to sometimes compassion, like looking at, wow, you said, man, if he had only had more support, if he had a person that maybe wasn't beating him down all the time, maybe he could have been a different person. And that's big to acknowledge that your parents are human beings too. Like they're people too that have a story, have a past, are shaped by their environments.
Yep.
And like you said, to land at the beautiful, beautiful line, he gave me the best he had. Yeah. And that's healing. That's healing for a lot of us. So thank you for that, Shema, brother. That was really powerful. And I'm hoping that, again, whether you're listening live or watching the replay, hope that serves you in some way. I see we got brother Peace and Love in the building. The doctor is in the building. The love doctor is in the building. And so we want to go ahead and bring him up because I know he is eager to share. Like his essence of a win when he thinks of his dad, man, and his father. Doctor's Dr. Love Jones.
First off, it's been a while, man. I feel different. When I got these lines behind me, it hits different, man. I'm just I feel like I'm back with the pack. Like what's going on? What's up? All right, so the question is ask the question again. Sorry.
Yeah, so what we talking about just at the top of the hour is helping us to, just like we always talk about quick wins, like what is a one essence that you want to celebrate about your dad, about your father, as we talk about fatherhood?
All right, so I can honestly say this when it comes to my dad is this, right? Me and my dad probably has a stronger relationship now than we have ever had, right? It's not to say that we've never had a relationship. From the time I was young, I always knew of my father. I don't know a period of my life, but I didn't know my father, right? But living in different states, he having a wife, other kids, my mom living over here, was not always easy. And there was in the beginning a lot of like, I'm going to be there but never show up, or those things. And as a kid you always sit here and be like, damn, why you can't keep your word? But I don't know what the trouble what my dad was dealing with on his end. I'm not going to go too deep because at the end of the day, my dad is a very private person and I will never speak socially on whatever he's dealing with. But I also understand that there were external factors that really affected how he could parent me, right? So me being 35 now with a daughter, I have an 11-year-old, I could more understand how there's things that is outside your parent control, outside my dad control, that prevented him from being there early on the way I probably needed it or what he probably desired to be. And that's why now I can look at this and be like, I don't hold no ill will. I never really did. I never, from a young age, I never really looked at my dad in any way. What it comes down to is that my dad has shown me so much value. My dad has been in business. He's a tax preparer, been doing that since before I was born. So you're talking about 30-something, 36, 37 years in business, right? Been working for himself since after 9/11. He been in business for himself. So you're talking about over 22 years of just working for himself, right? I got to have a great conversation with him last time we connected. We was in the same space together, and I got to understand some of the ups and downs he dealt with. You know, um, my dad has. I see my dad weep over a loss of my brother, who 20 years in May 1st. It's been 20 years since he transitioned. So knowing that my dad has never knowing what my dad has went through has made me more understanding, more loving, more caring. And one of the most valuable things my dad told me, I could tell you some of the things my dad taught me. One, from the youngest thing he always said is this: no matter what you go through in life, always do the right thing, right? And that's been instilled in me to always find the right thing to do. And of course, you're not perfect. You don't always do the right thing. You are in a moment, and you have your emotions and logic and reason. Your ego might be telling you what's the right thing in that moment. But I've done a lot of right because of that lesson. My dad also taught me to build relationships, like meaningful relationships, right? Anybody that read my book, Level Up: How to Start Living My Best Life Now, process 4, or that chapter was pretty much a lot that I learned from my dad that I use in real life, lifetime, building relationships. One of the things he's been telling me recently is focus on income producing activities. Always been a guidance there, always been a solid person, always make sure to let me know how to be there, who to be there. So overall, I have a very healthy, great relationship with my dad. I'm grateful for it. I'm happy for it. Um, I wish more people. I hope more people could say they can have a great relationship with their dad. Because to me, once I got a relationship with my dad, I understand what it really means to be a man. One like I understand when they say only a father could teach his son to be a man. I could say that that's the thing because, you know, women can do many things, but they can't teach a man to be a man. They could show them, like they could give them pointers and stuff, but sometimes you need models, and there's no better role model than your dad. Because that's who you probably take up after looks. Like me, I look like my dad, right? I look like that man. So it's no better model than my dad for me to know what a man is. And as I've grown older, I can say now, 36, I have a better understanding of what it is to be a man that I did about a year, 2, 3 ago, just by constantly watching him. So I want to definitely shout out my dad, uh, Ernst, Ernst France. I love you, Dad. Thank you for all you've done. I appreciate you. Happy Father's Day.
Hey, hey, I love that. I love that. I love that. Man, that was rich, brother. That was rich. What I'm hearing you say, healthy relationships, right? After everything is said and done, learning to have those healthy relationships with your father is critically important,
Yeah.
right? And through communication with him, understanding understanding his world. Again, you get to have a sense of compassion, and it teaches you a little bit about yourself as well. So that's good stuff, man. Good stuff. Awesome. So, I mean, I'll share. I think that the other day I was we are doing the mastermind. I told you guys about the cost. We talked about what is the cost of not doing our mastermind or following through on the things that we say we're going to follow through on. And I said to you guys, my kids are always watching, right? They're watching and they're looking to see what I'm doing. And one of the things from a celebration standpoint, I'll just say, with my dad, is every time I think about things that I need to do, right? He's always the person that I look to as the model, right? It's like, what would my dad do in this situation, right? Um, I would always be like, you know what? My dad never would give up in this situation, right? Because he's just not that type of person. Uh, he's always been somebody who like shows me about relationships, the importance of relationships and how to navigate relationships and all that stuff. And so, he's been kind of the person that I look to as the model. Like he's like, okay, okay, if I'm going to make this move, I'm calibrating my moves based upon my dad. And so in celebration of him, I call him, we like to give names, right? The professor, the alchemist. No, we got a producer, we got the connection catalyst, we got a level up coach. So my dad, I'm gonna call him the calibrator. so tonight,
You forgot one.
No, what did I forget?
You forgot the premium, bro. You forgot premium. Don't mess with premium.
All right, well, premium ain't here tonight, but I get what you're saying, premium, right? But yeah, I'm calling him the calibrator, man, because when I look to calibrate my actions, I'm always looking to see like who he is as a model of how I need to be, and so I celebrate him for that. And of course, we're gonna go into lessons in a moment, but I celebrate him specifically that because I want my kids to then look at me as the calibrator. I want for them as they're going through their actions to be thinking, man, what would my dad do in this situation? You know what I mean? That would be really, really powerful. So anyway, we're keeping this train moving. We just talked about, celebrating our dads and the one aspect of celebration. We've shared some lessons already, but I do want us to kind of go into some key specific lessons that you've learned from your father. And whether it be in the celebration or the things, how you see him move and how he operates, and you're like, man, that's kind of cool. I've always admired that. Like, I like how he moves like that. I like how he's able to just kind of negotiate those situations. Whatever it is, we want to hear about it, and then we want to then highlight the lesson, and then teach the listening audience something that you want to share based upon that, or just land with the lesson, whichever. So we're gonna keep the order going.
Hold on, before we do,
yeah.
I want to say something.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah, man.
So I had the privilege of seeing you and your dad work together 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And I'm gonna tell you something. It's so interesting to see the father-son dynamic, right? And oftentimes it's the mother that doesn't see the son as a man. Right? She's always going to look at him as the little boy. But it's interesting to see the father-son dynamic, and I could see the respect that you and your father have for each other. And then to have a conversation with your son and the respect that you and your son have for each other, and to see him growing into a man and you helping him and guiding him along the way. So it was just really, although he was there to sell water, I was paying attention to all of that, right? I was seeing all of that in that, and I just wanted to celebrate you because it was really, really awesome to see.
Beautiful. Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. Wow, I didn't expect that. I didn't pay him to say that. I promise you. I do need to pay him though. I didn't pay him to say that.
I don't know, man. I saw that Cash App transaction. I was trying to figure out where it came from.
Well, Lamont know I'm talking about. We got that. Anyway, so let's keep the train rolling. Let's go to Rudy. In terms of like lessons, and what you want to share from that lesson to the listening audience. Take it away, champion.
Woo. All right. Can y'all hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right. Lessons. Some time ago, I had to do a deep reflection on my life, and how I show up for people. And what I realized is that whether you've had your father in your life or you haven't had your father in your life, there are elements of your father that you will take on no matter what. It's DNA. That's how the cookie crumbles. That's how the world turns. Having said that, there are also elements that you will learn from desiring a relationship or not having a relationship. So when I was about 6 months old, there was a unfortunate incident where my father decided to take me out of a kindergarten and keep me without my mother knowing. that he was going to do that. And she didn't have me for 6 months. And I can imagine how devastated she was during that period of time. And then on my first birthday, she got me back. And the thing was, because he was married at the time to someone else, the decision that he made was to not be part of my life and move forward. And fast forward 30 years later, we reconnected. And we had some not necessarily deep moments, but we had some times where we talked. And one of the things that I said to him in my letter to him when we reconnected, I said, "Listen, Dad, I don't, I just want to let you know that I know a lot of people have come to you for help. He's very well off, philanthropist. He's helped a lot of children. He's done a lot, and I think that's probably been his way of trying to make amends with." Whatever has gone in his life. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I can imagine what would drive a man to help a lot of children would be something to that effect, right? And what I've learned from that is he did the best that he could. He did with what he knows. I mean, Lamont said it earlier. He did the best that he could for what he knew. And what I started thinking about during that period of time was, I wonder how his parents was in his life. I wonder how his mother and father, or specifically his relationship with his father was like. And interestingly enough, the other day I had a conversation with one of my aunties, and she told me she was very close to him at some point. And even though she was close to him, she never heard him talk about his parents. Isn't that interesting? She never heard him talk about his father, his mother, or any of it. And when you're sitting here and you're saying, well, why didn't they do this and why didn't they do that? And again, people have choices that they're going to make, good, bad, or different. Could he have made a choice to learn about how to be a father? Of course. But when it all said and done, what gets passed around is what is seen. Like Darren said earlier, as my kids are watching me, how I move, how I operate in business, how I operate with my wife, how I operate with other people, how I operate with Men in Confidence Factor, they are always watching those things. So what I've learned from my father is being able to watch how he operated based on what he knew. So what that does for me is says, you know what, Rudy? If you want to be a better man, a better father, a better husband, a better provider, a better friend, you can sit here and gravitate towards what you've seen or experienced, or you can learn how to do better and be better and move better and operate in a way that is healthier towards other people. Because I cannot use the excuse of he was this or he was that. What I have to do is navigate towards the only thing I can control is how do I move forward? And that's the lesson, even in this, is that in learning to move forward, I kind of learned about his past a little bit, but that really was a great lesson for me because it taught me, you know what? He did the best he could. How can you do the best that you can moving forward? How can you move the needle in your life to be a better version of Rudy? And that's my share.
Yeah, that's good stuff, Rudy. And it takes a lot to really look at a situation that you don't like, right? And be able to actually rightly divide. Hey, I don't like this, but a person has a respect, they have the right to take whatever action that they want to take, right? And then how am I going to proceed in that relationship? And a lot of times we jumble all that stuff together. Oh, I don't like them and they don't have the right and so on and so forth. And really what we're just saying is we're angry. So it takes a lot to look at a situation where you feel like, hey, I didn't come out of this the way I thought I should, right? But yet you're still sitting here trying to figure out, hey, maybe this and maybe that, and looking for the good and looking for the opportunities that the situation presents. I think that in itself is building your character and building who you are and allows you to show up the way you show up. It takes a lot, right? And so like you say, you're learning how to show up from him. So I think that's pretty awesome, man. That's pretty awesome. And I really, honor and respect you for sharing that and, being open, but I also believe there's a lot of people that have that situation and they're looking for a healthy path and how to heal holistically and find the silver lining, even though everything is not the way they would have preferred to it have been in the past. Yeah. Yeah. My point, I don't want to go back into mine. Mine was simple. When you change the way you look at things you look at change. But my father's lesson for me was the power of persistence, just the ability to keep going forward and keep pursuing your dream and your goals for your life. So Lamont, we're going to come over to you. What's your one lesson that you want to share and pick out? We got about 9 minutes left, guys.
Sure. My dad inadvertently taught me how to deal with women who exude the masculine energy. He didn't know how to, but I figured it out. And so I said, there's only one woman on this earth that I will allow to have that level of power over me. And it was my mom. But other than that, I've learned how to, just by watching, and sometimes, this falls into that whole thing, right? The whole of watching how someone is unable to navigate a situation can teach you a lot about how to navigate the situation. Mm-hmm. And so what I'd learned to do was how to communicate with women in a way where there's equal respect. And to be a good listener, because a lot of times that's what women want. They want somebody to listen to them, to be a good listener, but also to be firm in what I will and will not accept. And to say, no, the buck stops here. And to stand in my masculinity and be able to share a space with a woman in a way that she feels honored and I feel respected.
Yeah. That's a powerful thing. Yeah, that's a powerful thing because when you're talking about it, some guys like, hey, this is what it is, this is where it's gonna be, and that's it. And it's like I'm taking, but there's an aspect of it where it's like, okay, you have to empty the heart of its cares, right? You have to allow people to share because they have a right to share. And one of the advantages, it's like when you separate those things. I like what you said, I didn't like what you say. I like what you did, I didn't like what you did. You have a right to do it, or you don't have a right to do it. I agree, I don't agree. And then lastly is how are we going to proceed, right? And sometimes people tie to I'm not listening with the action. And you can listen and you can say, well, I understand your position. I understand where you're coming from. I hear you, but I'm going to draw the line in the sand because this and now we can make a determination of how we're going to proceed. And those are all separate things. So I love the fact that you're able to separate those things and not jumble them all together and make, one decision simply from the emotional aspect is, hey, I don't like this. And that's it. That's right. Just, so that's a beautiful thing. Javon, we're going to come over to you. And what's your one lesson there?
I think one lesson my dad has always taught me. One thing I learned is to be more vulnerable as a man, and that's not what he told me, but that's what he showed me in his way of showing me. Right, my dad is not vulnerable. It's only when I spoke to him last year when we met in Miami is when he kind of showed me vulnerability, probably for the first time ever in my life, right? My dad's not vulnerable. But from that lesson I learned from him is like I don't need to be that. And I don't think he was intentionally being that. I don't think his way of life was to do it. His way of life is this. Who you gonna cry to, complain to? Whenever you're dealing with something, you just gotta deal with it. If you just gotta find a way to overcome. But one thing I learned is that, yes, you don't need to reveal everything that's going on, but vulnerability allows you to at least show that there's an emotional aspect to you and that you feel, right? and let people know, because sometimes as men, a lot of, especially when dealing with women don't think we feel anything. There's women that really don't think we feel at all, because we're so focused on the mission, we so focused on what we got to do, and we know how to just tap into that place and just do what we got to do without really showing that emotion. So, and for me, I've learned that no, be more vulnerable. It's okay. You're not lesser by showing that you are hurting. You're not lesser that you're showing that you are upset. You're angry. You're emotional. You're going through mental health. You're going through heartbreak. All these things is part of the human experience. So I could say from many conversations is to be more vulnerable. I'll be more vulnerable with my daughter. I would let her know when things are great, when things aren't, and I. But but at the end of the day, I give her a path to let, because at the end of the day, people can't know your story if they don't know the conflict, because we all have context, conflict, conclusion, right? That's a story. Oftentimes, we want to give the context and want to give the conclusion, but never want to give the conflict. I let them, for me to tell a full story about my growth and how I got to being Mr. Level Up is by me telling you the full story. And that means being vulnerable in that journey. And I learned that from my dad.
Man, that's good right there. What did you say? You said it was a conflict. Those C's.
Context, conflict, conclusion.
Context, conflict, and conclusion. Man, I love that.
Yes.
I love that. I love how you said it too. That's beautiful. And sorry, guys, like my computer has decided to crap on me. So I'm here on mobile, but it's all the same. I'm still here. So, beautiful shares. I was listening to all the fellas. Um, I'm gonna share my one lesson, and it's a line that my dad always says, and I've been hearing him say this for years, from since I was a little kid. And when I look at his life is a representation of that, and I've adopted that too. He says, "The harder the metal is rubbed, the more that it shines." So the harder the metal is rubbed, the more that it shines. Right? So, when I was young, I heard him say that. I never understood what he was talking about. Like, the more the metal is rubbed, I said, yeah, that makes sense. The more the better. Yeah, you rub the metal off, get mud off of it, the more it's gonna shine, right? Yeah, cool, okay. but but we all know he wasn't just talking about the metal shining. And the rub is not simply just rubbing off a piece of metal. The rub is the things you're going to go through in life, the obstacles you're going to deal with. And the more you go through those adversities and those challenges, and as long as you're learning from them, the more you can come out on the other side and shine, right? You're going to shine bright because of the things that you went through, the lessons that you've learned. And so the more that the metal is rubbed, the more that it shines. And so as we go through life, the lesson for me is that, hey, and it kind of goes to Winston Churchill, right? It's interesting how those two sayings correlate. That success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing one's enthusiasm. My dad has always told me that the more the metal is rubbed, the more that it shines. He's been saying the same thing. Right? They're saying the same thing. Embrace the process. Embrace, if you want to shine, embrace the rubbing. Embrace the rub. Embrace the things you got to go through. And one of the things I'll say, fellas, as we wrap this up, this journey together with you fellas has been great. It's been a rub, and that's why we continue to shine. It's been a rub of our relationship, of our workability together, of the things that we've had to work through integrity, through structure, through systems, through learning, to masterminding, to really having courageous conversations. It's been a great rub, right? And we continue to shine. We continue to show up. We continue to deliver, whether it be one person, 10 people, a million people. We continue to show up, and that's what's most important. It's about who we are becoming, and I think ultimately we have fathered many people through our content. And for that, I feel, I celebrate you guys. I celebrate us as we have fathered many people in content and sharing ourselves vulnerably and sharing so much of our gift of value. But we honor the fathers out there. We honor their presence. We honor their contributions to us. Present, not present. The fact is, we were born champions. We were born into this world. We're given a shot to live this thing called life and play this game called life. And as a result, that is a blessing in itself. And so if there's anything else you want to take away from this, the fact that you're here means that your father contributed to you being able to have a place in this world, a seat in this world, to be able to do something. Right? So anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate the shares. And I want to go ahead and turn it over to Bobby for inspiration injection before we close out. This has always been a great conversation. And I always walk away from this feeling more full. Right? Feeling more full. So I appreciate you guys for that.
I appreciate you. I miss y'all.
I like to thank God. I like to thank God for this share. I appreciate you there, brothers.
Yo, you crazy though. I like that Mike voice.
Yeah, it's really cool, man, when you think about it, because listen, I don't know how long we've been doing this show now, but obviously, you know, we have this show, we show up, you know, we give it our all. We talk to other brothers and see what the other brothers are doing. And one of our coaches, what he tell us is that, man, we need to get to a place where we share our stories so that we know that we're not alone. We're not alone. Like to Rudy's point earlier, the world has told us that, you know, hey, you need to be tough, suck it up. Nobody cares, right? And it's not true. People care. And I think someone said that, you know, you don't know your impact until you get feedback. So even as a mother, can you imagine raising kids and the kids never tell you I love you, never give you a hug, never say I appreciate you, never, you know, man, how long can you go? You know, in those type of conditions. But that is the way, you know, back in the day, it was about brute strength. It was about the jock. It was about the cool kids. It was about what you wear. It was about how much, you know, how strong you were or how bad you were. Right. We don't live in that world anymore. Right. We live in a world now where you have to think and you got to navigate and you need to be like Renaissance. Like you need to cook a little bit. You need to know how to iron. You got to know how to wash them clothes. You know, everybody got to help out a little bit. Right. So we're in a different time space. And I think as we begin, you know, as we learn to tap into that, we're going to get a lot further. Guys, we appreciate everyone who watched tonight. We really hope something was said to help to create a shift for change. If you're not where you want to be, Darian said that his father told him that the more you rub the metal, the more that it shines. In Think and Grow Rich, a book that we're studying right now, it says that for every adversity, every heartbreak, and every failure, it brings with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. And that's what we hope that you have in your life. We hope that all your adversities, all your heartbreak, all the things, the failures that you've experienced, that you get a chance to cross that bridge to the other side. And you get a chance to see what those things have brought you in your life. We hope that that is said to you. So that you got something from this. Tonight's inspiration injection is simple. It says a truly rich man is one whose children run into his arms when his hands are empty. We appreciate you all tonight. CF Talks each and every Tuesday night from 6:30 to 7:30. And we hope to see you guys next week. And what we say here at Confidence Factor, in everything that you do, in everything that you do, make sure that you keep it
heart level.
Hard level.
Hard level.
Appreciate you guys. See you next week.